quick look at endurance. Okay, the main things that I prefer to train for endurance. So I think I mentioned this in an earlier video, but if not, when people think of endurance, I think they refer to how much they can do when they are tired. Okay, once you are tired, everything drops off. You get slower, your skills gets worse, your decision making decreases. It's an area you don't want to play footy in too often. So I train endurance a different way, so we'll get to the point of that in a second. So my first port of call is just to build basic aerobic capacity. So people say get running the legs, base fitness, whatever you want to call it. It's actually called aerobic capacity. So initially we'd use some off legs variations, okay, so we don't want joint impact in October, November, December, not too much if we can avoid it, okay. We can still get aerobic improvements without getting the stress through joints, hips, knees, ankles, that type of thing, and wear and tear, okay. Then we can progress December, January to on legs aerobic capacity training. Aerobic capacity training is pretty much what you think aerobic training is. So it's low intensity, longish duration. It's boring. There's no doubt about that. It bores me to tears when I do it, but it's the thing that everyone needs to train. It's the most trainable thing you can have. So it's 30% genetic, which means you can train it 70% to wherever you want to go with it. With speed and other things like that, they have low trainability. You still train them because they're very important. But if you compare aerobic capacity to glycolic capacity or lactic capacity, which is your repeat running, okay, you get 3 to 4 weeks benefits from there, and then you're just beating a dead horse. But a lot of teams train that from the start, and they train it all the way through. All it does is end up building a lot of fatigue. So aerobic capacity, boring but ultra important. We also want to raise the anaerobic threshold. So that is the point where you'll be running nice and easy, and if you try and increase speed even just a little bit, it brings on a lot of fatigue very quickly, okay. So that's where you've changed from aerobic to anaerobic energy systems. Aerobic is low intensity, long duration, okay, so it can supply, there's a lot of time to supply energy, so that's what it can do. Once you hit anaerobic, the requirement for energy cannot keep up with how fast you can produce it. So what we want to do is raise the anaerobic threshold so you can increase the output prior to fatigue. So that's what I was leading to with my initial statement. Okay, so not how much you can do when tired, how much you can do before you get tired. Okay, so more work at a lower intensity. If there's time permitting, later in the pre-season, I like to try and get some lactic power runs in there. So they're longer sprints, sort of 20, 25, 30 second sprints with plenty of rest. I've got repeat speed there as well. Like I said, you only need probably 3 to 4 weeks at the local level of repeat speed training. You don't need much more than that, and pretty much all these done properly will improve your repeat speed without having to actually train it. So if there's time permitted and you've allowed time in to do it, by all means go and do some. A lot of drills, skill drills, end up being repeat speed in nature a little bit as well. So you need to take into account because it all adds up to fatigue. So that's our endurance training for the women's training program throughout the pre-season.